Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and this is NB12 for Monday, October 8th, 2012, broadcasting from the Cable 12 studios on Robinson Road. In news tonight, the Commissioner of Police gives the latest on that manhunt for a man who reportedly shot a police officer over the weekend. Final preparations and the advanced poll for the North Abaco by-election. 5,000 jobs could be possible if the Bahamas forms a proposed partnership with Brazil, and Atlanta sets the record straight in a controversy with disgruntled Cabbage Beach vendors. We have those stories and much more coming up tonight. Your NB12 starts right now. Joining us. After undergoing an 11-hour operation, the senior policeman shot 6 times over the weekend is expected to recover. The father was unarmed when a gunman opened fire on him on Woods Alley off Wolf Road Saturday night. Commissioner of Police Ellison Greenslade says he suspects more than one person was involved in that attack, adding that he believes those responsible are bitter with the country and the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Vonique Toot reports.
Police know a lot more about Saturday's shooting than they're prepared to say right now. However, Commissioner of Police Ellison Greenslade did reveal that the people responsible for shooting Corporal Wilfred Atherley 6 times on Saturday knew him. The commissioner sat down with NB12 minutes after visiting Corporal Atherley in Princess Margaret Hospital's intensive care unit this morning. He says the senior policeman is very disturbed by what happened on Woods Alley Saturday night.
He is conscious. He is lucid. We had a very good conversation. He was able to recount the experiences of the night in question when he was injured, and of course to give me his sentiments regarding his particular feelings at the moment. He's very, very disturbed. He's very disturbed, and I want to mirror what he has said, that as a police officer in the Bahamas, that he could be assaulted by someone who he is aware of that should not be walking the streets of New Providence, someone who should be in prison.
Greenslade believes more than one person is involved in the recent shooting. He says police are following good leads, but no one has been taken into custody as yet. Corporal Atherley, who is in his late 40s, has served on the Royal Bahamas Police Force for more than 20 years. He is currently attached to the Wolf Road Police Station. Commissioner Greenslade called his shooting unprovoked, adding that the officer had no involvement with the people who attempted to take his life.
Atherley was an innocent Bahamian man going about his normal business when he was brutally assaulted and an attempt was made to take his life. That is unacceptable. This is a totally unprovoked attack. It's an attack by someone who's mean-spirited, who's bitter with the country, bitter with the system, bitter with the organization, the police, bitter with humanity. And people like that should not be roaming the streets of our country.
The commissioner says this investigation has his full attention.
We continue to tell our people they should put down guns, but when you have people turning their guns on police officers, unarmed police officers, and in fact attempting to take their lives, that takes this discussion to a whole different level. And I want the public to please listen carefully to me as I again appeal for our children to turn those guns in. This has got to stop. To date, we have taken 399 illegal weapons off the streets of the Bahamas. 70% of that right here in the capital city, New Providence.
As police continue to search for the people who injured one of their own, Commissioner Greenslade says he is grateful Corporal Atherley survived that attack. Doctors operated on the father for 11 hours after he was shot and are treating him for internal injuries. Corporal Atherley is expected to recover. However, the commissioner says it will take some time. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.
Parliamentary Commissioner Errol Bethel is denying Free National Movement claims that the upcoming North Abaco by-election may be compromised. This as scores of North Abaco constituents voted in today's advance poll. In a statement issued this afternoon, F&M officials said they are surprised that the Parliamentary Registration Department has named 8 new presiding officers to man 8 of the 12 polling stations in North Abaco on October 15th. Bethel confirmed to NB12 that some new presiding officers have been chosen.
We had an original list and we amended the list. Okay, the list was amended and that was the list that we're using for the election. Well, what we do in every election is that we select persons in every election. Then after we have made those selections, we try to ensure that persons who are going to be working are persons who have had experience in terms of training and that sort of thing. And we ran through intensive training with the persons who are going to be working.
The F&M claims that virtually all individuals who served as presiding officers during the May 7th general election were civil servants. However, only 4 of them have been retained for next week's by-election. The opposition questioned why some people were changed and expressed deep concern that these last-minute changes might give rise to serious irregularities. The F&M said this includes individuals seeking to illegally influence by-election results by running chain ballots. Bethel could not say how many new presiding officers were named.
I can't say exactly, in terms of, because I don't want to talk about comparing today with May, because I would have to go back maybe to a previous list also and make that comparison to be totally accurate. We're satisfied so far that what has happened today went very, very well, and we're confident that it will go well next week.
99 people were expected to vote today. 98 special voters applied to cast their ballots early in either North Abaco or New Providence. Meantime, there was one overseas voter in Jamaica. By 4 this afternoon, Bethel says 4 people had voted here in New Providence and 64 people had voted in North Abaco. Polls closed at 6 p.m. More than 4,400 North Abaco voters are expected to mark their X next week, Monday. A proposed partnership between Brazil and the Bahamas could bring thousands of jobs to the country. Minister of Financial Services Ryan Pinder says the government is looking into the possibility of setting up an ethanol plant on a family island as it seeks to strengthen ties with Latin American countries. Jasmine Bonamy has the details in this report.
Forging stronger ties with Latin America is something that the Christie administration is determined to do, according to Minister Pinder, who says Latin America poses the strongest hope for the Bahamian economy. In fact, Pinder says the government views Latin America as a land of opportunity when it comes to economic and trade partnerships. He said talks with financial and industry officials during a visit to both Panama and Brazil last week were beneficial as officials discussed a number of initiatives. He adds that the Christie administration is committed to trading with both nations.
We see Latin America as one of our key, if not our primary market for economic expansion and growth. And we see a tremendous opportunity of synergies between the Bahamas and Panama. Similar to London and Europe, Panama is the gateway to many countries in Latin America. Countries, given the resources of the government, we're not able to go to every country, even though we see real promise throughout Latin America. We see Panama as that access to other countries and other markets in Latin America.
Pinder adds that the Brazilian government has already asked to begin negotiations for a bilateral agreement. He adds that both sides have discussed the possibility of using the Bahamas as a trade hub. One of the major industries discussed was ethanol production, an industry that he says could bring 3,000 to 4,000 jobs alone.
We spoke to one of the largest ethanol producers in Brazil, and they have such a high consumption of ethanol, they need to look to go for export markets to really generate in other jurisdictions. I propose, again, Grand Bahama, because of the container port that's there, closeness to Andros, you may be able to utilize the land to even grow the sugarcane. Now, their estimates were 3,000 to 4,000 jobs that can come out of that one initiative. So we're actively looking to see if our soil quality is good enough to meet the standards to grow the sugarcane and all the technical components to be able to say the Bahamas is a good access point for North America.
Pinder says the government is also currently in talks with Northern American and European officials for additional opportunities. Pinder says to that end he will be traveling to Brussels later this month. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Bonamy.
The Christie administration is one step closer in its campaign to enlighten the public on international trade agreements that could benefit the Bahamas. This morning, dozens of stakeholders in the financial sector attended the opening of a 4-day World Trade Organization workshop at the British Colonial Hilton. The workshop was sponsored by the Ministry of Finance in conjunction with the African, Caribbean, and Pacific Multilateral Program. The discussion will center on the GATS, which is an agreement of the WTO. Chairman of the Bahamas Trade Commission, Philip Galanis, says the workshop will help formulate policy recommendations for international agreements like the EPA.
We are here to share information and consult with you. Our job and my job at the Commission will be to ensure that you continue to be informed and to ensure that where you identify difficulties and challenges, that we take note and provide the correct policy advice and direction to the government of the Bahamas. Today is the beginning of this new process, and we commit to consultation and engagement to ensure the best possible outcome for the majority of Bahamians.
The workshop will come to a close on October 11th. Participants include bankers, accountants, and other financial service providers.